It is great to welcome Maddisun to this podcast. She is a musician based in British Columbia at the moment. Maddie, how's it going? Welcome to the show.
Hey Tong, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me on this lovely Monday here in Cranbrook, British Columbia.
hmm Yeah. So, how far are you from Vancouver or Victoria or any?
I'm like a 8 hour drive or a 1 hour flight. There's like a tiny plane that flies to Vancouver.
Okay. Um, do you go there often, either for performing or for just for visiting?
Yeah, I go to Vancouver as often as there's something kind of going on there. The last time I was there was in May. I performed at a venue called the Heatley, and I did like a live interview and performance at Unsigned BC. It's a radio station there run by my friends.
I see. So according to Spotify, you have two shows coming up later this month. One at Fernie, another town in British Columbia, and another town named Kimberley, also in BC. So tell me more about these future gigs.
Yeah, that's right. So these shows are a part of this like tour that I'm doing that's called the Home Tour. So I got some grant funding from the Columbia Basin Trust and the CKCA, which is like an arts council here in the Basin region where I'm from in the Kootenays. And they supported me on this tour. So it's specifically like theaters and smaller intimate spaces where I have like a focus on songwriting and like storytelling and rising up other local artists. So I also have bands that are supporting me on the tour. So there's 6 dates and three in the East Kootenays and three in the West. So there's like two separate areas in the Kootenays. There's the East and the West. And the one in Fernie is on November 15th, and it's at this beautiful church that's converted into a venue. It's called the Knox Church. And I have Lord Knows, a local act. They're like a husband wife duo. They're opening for me there. And then on the 30th of November is in Kimberley, yes. And Half Spent are a local like alternative rock band that's going to be opening up the night. And it's at a really nice theater venue called Center 64. And both shows, the tickets are for sale on online on my website, wherever my links are in the world. If you're local, you can grab tickets and come out. But I'm also going to be filming the sets, full sets, and putting them on my Patreon
Okay.
at the at some point when they're done.
Okay. Glad to hear it. Yeah. Since I'm not in Canada even, let alone the
Yeah,
BC
you're
area,
not,
so I
but you
obviously
are
have
on
to.
my Patreon now. Thank you. So I'm not sure. Sometimes I save some of the content for my paid tiers because it supports me financially, and I put a lot of money into making the videos. But I put some things on. I put a lot of things on my free tiers too.
Yeah. So the home tour that you're doing, I will assume is to promote your album, Home is Where the Music Is, which was released
Yeah,
in
it's kind
2022.
of, but it's more of a concept of I did a bunch of traveling in this year. I was in New York, Toronto twice, Nashville, and Los Angeles. And so, but I'm always coming home to the Kootenays at the end of the travels. So this was like a coming home tour
Oh,
also. And that concept is very constant in my music. So
yeah. And I got a chance to listen to your album, Home is Where the Music Is. I think it's wonderful.
awesome. Thank you. Do you have a favorite?
Um, I would nominate the song Running. That's a
Mm.
lovely song. I'd say I enjoy almost all of it, but yeah, I think the song Running stands out.
Sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, running is a really fun one to perform live, especially like with the full band.
hmm Yeah. And you also shot a music video for the song. So what do you remember about the shooting process?
Yeah, we shot the video in the like desert in British Columbia. It's in an area called the Okanagan. Specifically, it was in Soyuz. So it's very beautiful in the summer. It's like desert, lots of interesting plant life there, and like beautiful mountains and hills and like wine area. It's very good for wine growing and grapes. And there's also rattlesnakes. So I had this idea that like the theme for the song is very like outlaw, Wild West, sort of Americana. So I wanted this style of like old kind of like it's most of my stuff is like dystopian. Like I don't really have a time period, so to say. So, like I'm 70s, but sometimes like 1800s and sometimes new. So the feeling for that video was very much that, and the area provided that. And then I had the idea to put a rattlesnake in the video if we could safely make it happen. And we did. So we managed to be able to put a scene with the rattlesnake in the video. And it's like an Easter egg. You have to wait. It's like a very short clip. I'm sure you remember it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can see the little fellow there, and I'm sure no one was harmed, including the animal.
No crew members and no snakes harmed. Exactly. After we got the shot, it was like quite a majestic moment. The snake just kind of like slithered up the hill, and we were like, okay, like that was our shot.
hmm Yeah,
Yeah, it was actually really special. So, so yeah, it was a great filming. And I stayed with the videographer, and they like were really lovely, and their whole family was really nice, and we became really good friends. And I spent like quite a few days out there, and I actually went back to that area to the Okanagan to do a tour this summer.
okay. Glad to hear it. I hope the tour went well.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a good year. I played a lot of shows, and a lot of really great people came out.
hmm Yeah. So, tell me about your latest single. Is titled "Crawl," and you also shot a music video for it.
Yeah, that was done in Toronto. So I did these three songs with producer and musician Ian Doherty. He's in the band July Talk, and it's like a great Canadian band. And they kind of have like a more like alternative, heavier rock feeling. So knowing what Ian creates and like what he kind of is inspired by, I was like, okay, I have these few songs that I think would be really awesome to do together. And so I it was Feeling It Again, Crawl, and a song that will be coming out in the new year called To Heal. And it was so fun recording there. He had all this amazing gear. It was very like hands-on, analog, like rock and roll feeling. I had friends come in, and we did the drums and the bass and kind of everything all at once. And it was like I would go to the studio and like get the bus to the studio and like hang out there for the day, all day, sometimes till like midnight. And Ian gratefully gave me a few rides home at late nights after the studio. And like we became really good friends through that process too. And then the songs were just like so great and so expansive, and I loved them. And the one song, Crawl, had this like I had this idea that I wanted to just make like a very simple music video where I was just like walking down the street in Toronto, because that song kind of has that beat to it. And it's even I'm singing about like walked around dun, 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 dun. So it's kind of like has that walking beat. And so I actually got connected with a friend who has a Super 8, like an 8mm camera. And I thought, okay, this will give this very simple video concept something a little bit deeper and more in tune with my branding by doing it on this vintage camera. And that meant that we only got, I think it was like 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the roll of film. So you actually notice in the video that the footage loops a couple times in the video, but I think that's really cool. So it's actually just like a short video, which is budget friendly, is time efficient, and also it was great to use for social media. So I got just like a lot of key clips, so I was able to promote the video. And I think it was like a really smart way of doing a video, and I'm going to do it like that again in the future for sure. But it was such a great time filming on that vintage camera. Like it was a really cool experience.
Let's see. Yeah. I used to own a Super 8 camera, so I sort of know how short the reels
Yeah.
are.
And how expensive it is to develop the film.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense to do two rolls.
Hmm. Yeah, of course. Um, yeah, and also I'm very much looking forward to the new single coming out in 2025.
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna release it actually in my Patreon post that I made today. I was talking about it and how I was planning to release it this week actually. But then this was like before I left to Toronto and Los Angeles. And I kind of was thinking that I was like, oh, well, this would be a good time to release it because I'm doing all these things. It'll create some buzz. But then I was like, you know what? I'm not ready. And then I went into the studio in Ottawa with my friend Jim Bryson, and we ended up recording two really great songs. One of which is this is me kind of giving away what I talked about in my Patreon, but people can go read it anyways because it's public. But one is called Evergreen, and it's a kind of Christmas inspired, like love song about finding evergreen people in your life. And that's coming out December 6th. So I decided to hold on and wait for the last song that I recorded with Ian, which is called To Heal, and give that one a little bit more of a push in the new year, but still have something to release in this in between time. Because I released Crawl in August, and I already feel like I need to put something else out before I put To Heal out, which I think will be in February.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I look forward to both of them, and I believe that by the time this recording comes out, maybe the Evergreen song will have been released. So you have
Hey,
something
yeah.
for everybody.
Okay, well, if it is out, go listen to it now. If not, December 6th.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So tell me about the your stage name. So it's Maddisun with the emphasis on sun. I
Yep.
presume that is based on your actual name, which is Madison.
Yeah, that's right. And like sometimes I don't think too much about it and I just say that it's Madison. And like a lot of people just pronounce it like that. And I kind of don't really care too much because when people see the spelling, they automatically think, oh, sun. And that's kind of how my branding is and how my personality is. Like I'm very full of sunshine and positivity and like uplifting, and that's in my music themes as a lot as well. So I don't I think that it comes naturally, the sunshine aspect. So I try not to get too like worried about being like, oh, did I make sure to pronounce it Maddie Sun or say Maddie Sunshine? And if people aren't pronouncing it that way, like it's totally fine because some people just say Madison, which is my name. Yes. So I've just changed the spelling of the O to a U and leaned a little bit into that like sunshine branding and personality, which kind of just comes naturally. And I feel like the name is not too much of a serious concept rather than just like who I am.
Mhm. Yeah. Tell me about some of the artists who have influenced you.
Growing up, I listened to a lot of classic rock and like early 70s singer-songwriter music, but then also some like heavier stuff. So that was like my first kind of introduction to music. I'm definitely really inspired by like Stevie Nicks and Van Morrison and Jackson Brown and also like the Guess Who and some other Canadian bands. But then as I started to find my own music tastes as I got older, I got introduced to like more early 2000s like pop rock. So like Avril Lavigne, Michelle Branch, like I could think of others, but I would take me a minute to list some more. But also like early 2000s, like easy listening pop. I really like that kind of sound as well. So some of my newer stuff that's coming out is a little bit more in that direction. And that's kind of like Kobe Calais, Jason Mraz, Paolo Nutini, and some more of like early 2000s, like catchy, like even like Jack Johnson, like catchy kind of feel good pop, but not like super shiny, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Um, Someone who does this really well and someone that I'm very inspired by musically is Maggie Rogers. And I listen to her music a lot and have been inspired by her, especially with her new album. That sound is really cool, and it's just like music that just like feels good and makes you feel good.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Maggie. She's a unique talent.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, she definitely is. We met earlier this year at a party in New York, actually.
Oh wow. Oh, you actually met her. So yeah, tell me more about it.
There's not really too much to say about it, actually. Um, we just met at a party and she was really busy.
Yeah, I can say it. I don't understand that. I know that she went to Harvard Divinity School, and she talked about that in the podcast and in a podcast that I listened to, not this one, but yeah. Um,
Yeah, like I think if you had a podcast with her, you probably would have started with that.
yeah, I wish, but yeah. But
Hey,
yeah,
well, I'm gonna be there, so you can say that you had a podcast with me.
okay. Yeah, I look forward to, meeting her and mentioning to her that, she met you and such.
Yes, yes. She might not remember, but she and I will definitely cross paths again, I feel. Probably at a festival that we're both playing or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah. So tell me about the kinds of songs that you would like to write or you have written and you would like to write more of.
Yeah, I guess I mean I was kind of alluding to that a bit in saying that some of the music that I'm going to be releasing and some of the stuff that I'm writing like right now feels a little bit more like easy listening, soft rock, but like catchy. Like I'm really interested in writing like super catchy hooks and like choruses. So my new song Big Star, which you can watch the live performance of on my Patreon, and maybe by the time this is out, it'll be available on my YouTube too. But it's a brand new song that I wrote in Nashville, and it has just like a really organic, like vintage sound because all my music is like slightly inspired by like a 70s rock sound, but with like a newer pop writing influence. So the structure of the song is like a little bit more classic, just like chorus, verse, chorus, maybe a bridge or like a solo. This song has a solo, a guitar solo. It's like a fuzz solo. It's actually really fun.
Mhm.
Um, but like writing that is like very catchy pop hooks. So I feel like that's the music that I like listening to. And when I hear something, that I'm like, whoa, that like stops me in my tracks. I'm like, oh my God, that was so like catchy. And a lot of Maggie's music has done that to me like many times. And also other artists like Caroline Polachek. She has this one song that's called Door, I believe. And just even though it's a little bit more cinematic and like eclectic than my music, which is more like classic rock singer-songwriter, you know when those like hooks or that feeling like really hits you with music. So I'm really leaning into finding things like that. Also, if you maybe notice in the background, this is a brand new Nord keyboard that I recently upgraded to. I've had the same keyboard since like 2019 that is just not serving me anymore. And I've been saving and I've upgraded. And that is going to be such a tool for songwriting. I'm going to write so many good songs now that I have that. I was going to anyways, but this is going to help.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Caroline too. She has a very unique personality, at least a persona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. And she's done a lot of stuff and she has like unique way of expressing that in her songs.
Yeah. The recently I think she went to a museum either in Paris or in Berlin and she covered the Radiohead song True Love Waits and yeah, her rendition is quite
Hmm.
hauntingly beautiful.
I'm gonna have to check that out. She's at a museum?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure of the location, so it's either Paris or Berlin. But you can just yeah, type it up on the search bar,
Yeah, I'll go check that out.
Caroline Polachek True Love Waits. Yeah. So yeah, it's yeah, it's wonderful that yeah, you have this such an eclectic pop music taste, and yeah, it's glad that we have at least two artists that we like in common.
Yeah, I feel like that um, is kind of becoming what people want to listen to music that feels like organic and not super like contrived. And I think me personally, like I'm missing a lot of the ways that music used to be that I wasn't even around for. We weren't even around for this music that was being made in the 70s in like this more organic way. But I think there's a lot of us that are really interested in capturing that sort of organicness of music, but using the tools that we have now to create like really eclectic sounds. Like, I mean, having the Nord, like I have all of these amazing tools and things now and sounds that like would have taken me forever to find and create in the 70s, and they wouldn't have even been available to me. So like I think, yeah, if I believe that a resurgence of like classic, like I don't know, even like Chappell Roan is doing stuff like this right now with her music. It's like very like uplifting pop, but doesn't feel like it's like just trying to make a quick million or whatever. Like it feels like it's like really deep music again, like Bowie or something.
Yeah, another artist that we both seem to like. Yeah, I just discovered Chappell Roan's music just a few days ago, and yeah,
Oh, just a few days ago? Oh,
oh
okay,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
still
yeah.
too.
Yeah, I listened to the was it Midwest Princess album, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, she strikes me as a sort of sapphic Kate Bush. So
Hmm.
yeah, here we go.
Yes, yes, like very Kate Bush and like yeah, Bowie, Queen, like some of those classic elements with a modern like feeling and a modern like sensibility. That's what I'm trying to do as well. But like I said, like I mean, everyone has to have their own angle and their own like way of doing things. So my way of doing things is like a little bit more rock and roll, like singer-songwriter. So a little bit more like, yeah, Stevie Nicks, Linda Ronstadt, um, Bonnie Raitt, like these kind of like even a little bit like more country leaning. So like Emmylou Harris or like some more like Americana kind of stuff. So yeah, like Bonnie Raitt, bluesy, more so than like pop or even like more crispier pop. Like mine's a little bit more I don't know how to describe it, but less shiny, I guess. A little bit more gritty.
Yeah, I know. There's too much shiny pop these days.
Yeah. And it serves a purpose for sure, but I think there's a lot of people as well, and that's the community that I'm trying to reach. There are so many people and listeners in the world, and I feel I will find my community of people that like this kind of music, and I'm glad to know that you are now one of them. And it's just a matter of like continuing to build my community. So that's what I'm trying to do now, and I'm just trying to get in front of as many of the right people as I can.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm glad to be part of the Maddisun fandom.
Yes, it's my sunshines. That's what I call my fans and my people, my community, my sunshines.
It's like that song, right? You are my sunshine.
I should do a cover of that.
Right. So, finally, since you have to go very soon, what does music mean to you?
Well, just like in my album title, music feels like home. So home is where the music is. And I grew up surrounded by music. My dad's side of the family, they're all like kind of grassroots musicians. So I grew up like playing around the campfire with my dad, playing guitar, and my aunts are beautiful singers. And my grandpa was a truck driver and he played in like a traveling band in like the 60s. And so I was always surrounded by that. There's actually photos of me as like a little kid, like two maybe or younger, fall like passed out in my dad's guitar case. Like I would fall asleep by the fire, like curled up in his guitar case. So when I'm able to play my music and like channel music and have that feeling on stage and connect with people, it feels like I'm like going home to myself and the thing that felt the most natural. Like it's crazy to think that I would even try and do anything else when this is the thing that I know the best and I'm the best at. And it's like a really sad thing that people in this world and in this society with capitalism and all of the awful things that make us have to just work to live, people can't do the thing that they're truly the best at, like the thing that you really wanted to do and were really good at when you were younger or something or whatever it is, because you have to be like an entrepreneur too. So I can't just do music, but I love it so much and it comes so naturally to me that I work really hard at being good at the other things that don't come so naturally, like marketing and digital media and selling myself. So that's the best part about music, about playing music, is that I get to like come home to myself.
I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you very much, Maddisun, for joining the show.
Yes, thank you for having me. I hope I didn't share too much with you, but that's who I am.